And welcome back to Dukascopy TV. Today we're going to take a look at the major events happening in the markets. And joining me to discuss is Dr. Frank Hollenbeck, Professor of Finance at the International University of Geneva. Welcome back, Dr. Frank.
Thank you for having me here.
So of course the Greek government wants to change the debt it owes to the EU by converting it into bonds linked to growth, and at the same time change its debt it owes to the ECB into a perpetuity. So what do you think about this?
Well, the current finance minister is actually an economics professor, like I am, and he's actually a specialist in game theory. He's actually written a book in game theory. Maybe he should have taken a course in negotiations, or more or less know how to play poker, in the sense that you learn that you don't blink first, and the person who shows that he has the least to lose is likely to win the most. And in the case of what's happened is that Syriza has blinked. Okay. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that the ECB threatened to cut off Greek banks from liquidity if the Greek government did not continue with the austerity program that's been put in by the Troika. Okay. I think Greece doesn't realize that it really does have the upper hand in the current situation. And also, it doesn't necessarily have to leave the euro. We have many countries in the world who basically use the dollar, for example, as their currency, even though they have no agreement with the US government. Okay. And we also have countries that use multiple currencies as the currency of choice. So there's nothing that's really stopping Greece from continuing to use the euro as its national currency.
So there are rumours that the Swiss National Bank is establishing a soft peg to the euro of between 105 to 110 franc to the euro. What can you say about this?
Well, it seems that the Swiss National Bank didn't learn its lesson. You can either fix your currency or you can run independent monetary policy, but you can't do both. When the Swiss National Bank set a floor of 1.2 back in September of 2011, it had to purchase a significant amount of foreign currencies. In other words, its foreign currency assets basically doubled. When it gave up on the peg of 1.2, it basically said that it wanted to regain control over the money supply. Okay, by fixing a currency, okay, it's basically saying that it's now reattaching itself to the ECB's monetary policy. We have to realize that when a currency appreciates by small amounts, individuals can adjust, in the sense that exporters can use financial instruments such as futures, swaps, and options to hedge their foreign currency risk. Others who are influenced by the exchange rate can make adjustments if the exchange rate is moving relatively small amounts. Okay. What happened last month is the currency went from 1.2 to below 1. This caused everybody by surprise. Okay. Exporters had not hedged their foreign currency risk, and a lot of people now are having to make drastic adjustments because of the Swiss National Bank's policy. Okay. I'm afraid that by fixing a 1.05 to 110 basically band, okay, they're going to create the exact same thing that occurred a month ago. In other words, we may hold this band for a couple of years and then we'll have another dramatic adjustment. This is not good for exporters, and it's not good for the Swiss economy.
So US growth in the fourth quarter in at 2.6%, weaker than expected. So is the US slowing down? Do you have any concerns?
Well, it is true that Obama and Yellen are crowing about the good growth numbers. And I've always said is fear the boom, not the bust, in the sense that is the growth we're seeing, is it broad-based? Okay? Is it because we're seeing an increase in productivity? We're seeing an increase in real wage growth? Okay? Is it a broad-based investment in plant and equipment? And the answer is no, because if we look at the average age of plant and equipment in the United States, it's actually the oldest it's been on record. Okay? And in reality, a lot of the growth is coming from the same thing that got us into trouble back in 2008, which is the interest-sensitive sectors of the economy. For example, if you look at auto sales, they've been growing primarily because there's been a growth in loans to subprime borrowers. These are people who have credit scores below 640. Okay. In terms of loans to good credit scores, those who have a credit score above 720, there's basically been absolutely no growth. Okay. And when we look at housing, we have to understand that between 2001 and 2007, we had basically a massive overconstruction of both residential and commercial properties. Okay. And what we needed was for housing prices to drop much, much more than they did. In other words, housing prices should have collapsed, okay? And housing should have remained in a slump for maybe a decade. Okay. Now what we have is housing is back, and in some areas we're back to bubble era price increases at the moment. Okay. But the reality is that the overhang of construction hasn't really been cleared off. Okay. Essentially what's happened is that the Federal Reserve's easy monetary policy has allowed banks to basically extend and pretend. Okay. The number of vacant houses is currently at 18 million units, the same level it was back in 2008. And houses that have been basically held off the market, okay, is at a record level of 7 million units. So basically we haven't really made the necessary adjustments that we needed in 2008, and we're just pushing the problem into the future. And I'm afraid that we're going to have a significant adjustment, not only in the US, but worldwide.
As always, a pleasure speaking with you, Dr. Frank. Thank you for joining me.
Always enjoy being here.
That's all from Dr. Frank and myself for now. Thanks for tuning in, and remember to keep clicking back. Bye for now.